I think I'm streaming. Ha. Studio. Let's pop out this chat too. If it isn't obvious already, I'm actually still setting up the whole streaming thing. So give me just one moment. Well, a few moments actually. So there's a quick way to get two windows to be side by side on Windows. In case you don't know, Windows key left, right. All right. There is no quick way, or at least not anymore, to get like more than two windows side by side by side. I have three windows that I want to use over here. I can only use two of them at a time unless I want to fiddle with it some more. I don't want to do that. So I might not actually start the streaming right now. I might turn it all off for a second so I can start from scratch and not have all this nonsense taking up time and space on the internet. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll be right back. Don't know why I'm that's stupid. Okay. Okay, now I've got that working. Close out these tabs. This tab. We'll leave Twitter open. And leave the chats open. So, what am I doing? I'm making a game. I wanted to make this game for a few years now. I'm calling it Project Overlord. I don't have a final name for it. It's called Project Overlord because the idea for the game kind of came from another game called Overlord. See right here, actually. So it's an old game. Oh, you can see my secret over there. You control minions. You don't actively fight things necessarily in this game. And there are a few games like that. There's Dwarf Fortress. There's Oxygen Not Included is a recent one. There's but I want this to be more of a grandiose, like big, like take over the world type of game, not just fight some monsters or whatever, or not just build one little colony, but build like an empire. But anyway, so I wanted to start out with just a big thanks to a few people who have done amazing stuff online, much better than I will ever do. But these three channels, these three people have kind of been a hold that thought. Sound back on. And we are streaming, it looks like. Okay. Okay, so as I was saying, these three channels do a fantastic job of making things that are both, useful and interesting and fun, and that there's quality team creates. He does mostly. He's actually he streams for fun. He does gaming streams, but he also has a separate channel where he makes things, and he is basically the reason why I know how to use Unity at all. I'm not great with Unity, but it's what I'm going to be using for this. Spoilers. Uh, then there is Handmade Hero, who is making an entire game and the engine from scratch in C and C++. I support his project. You can get the full source code if you pay $15, and you'll get the whole game when it comes out, and the source code and all this stuff. He's been working on it for, I think it's 3 or 4 years now, but he's made a lot of progress, and a lot of fun to watch. And then my favorite coding channel ever is the Coding Train. Dan Schiffman, he's fantastic. He's a funny guy. He's fun. He's engaging. He really makes you feel like you're learning something, but it's not out of your reach. He does neural networks. He does visualizing data, all this amazing stuff. Just go check it out. I'll put links in the description after this gets uploaded or whatever. But yeah, so that's kind of my inspiration, my thank you to those people. Like, without them, I probably wouldn't be doing this. So, oops. All right, so let's talk about the tools we're going to be using. Let's start with, first and foremost, we're going to be using Unity. People can rally against it all they like. It's an easy to use tool that makes games that are freaking great. Kerbal Space Program is one of my all-time favorite games, written in Unity. A lot of the new indie titles that you're seeing are all in Unity because it's just very easy to use. It's fun to use. Visual Studio 2017 is the de facto editor now for Unity. It used to be MonoDevelop. I wasn't the biggest fan of MonoDevelop, but it is what it is. I'm glad they moved over to Visual Studio Community. I'm going to be using OneNote. I have never used OneNote before. I'm using it at the recommendation of a guy from work. He's switching over to OneNote from Evernote, and I don't know why, but I figured, I'll try to use a new tool. Finally, GIMP to make all our... This is largely going to be a 2D game. I don't see any need for it to have any 3D elements. If down the line I want to change it to a 3D game, that shouldn't be too hard, given we're using Unity. And realistically, Unity is more just the presentation layer anyway. We're not going to be doing any physics. We're not going to be doing anything like that. It's a big spreadsheet game. If you've ever played, EVE Online, if you ever played RPGs where it's more numbers and doing things like that, that's what this game's going to be like. It's not going to be action-packed. It's going to be nerdy. I guess that's a good way of describing it. But we will need assets. We'll need to make pictures and all that stuff. And I'm going to try to do it all by myself. If you want to contribute, I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, it's not going to be high production quality graphics or whatever, because that's just not what I'm good at. I considered not even using Unity because, like I said, we're not going to be doing any physics or anything like that. But frankly, it's what I'm now familiar with, and it's easy to make UIs in. And so if I want to make, I don't know, little side games where you can go in and play, I don't know, Pong to have to hack a whatever. That's not what this game's about, but you never know. So yeah, Unity will be our presentation layer. Most of the work that we're going to be doing is going to be in code, though. It's not going to be in clicking and dragging things around. My specialty is programming. It's not game development. So as much as possible, I'm going to be doing the programming aspect of game development and not so much the visual aspect until I have to. All right, and so that brings us to the game itself. It's to take over the world. That's the object of the game. You are going to be playing basically the CEO of some major corporation. The way I decided to make this game because I was playing Metal Gear Solid 5. No, it had to have been 4 because it was a little while ago. I was doing that at the same time I was playing GTA 5. In GTA 5, you can do things like invest in the stock market, and in the game, you can actually manipulate the stock market by doing certain missions. Spoiler alert! It's a 5-year-old game at this point, but so that was a really cool idea, but it was kind of limited. It was only these few missions, and supposedly there were a few aspects of the game that could affect the markets, both online and offline, but it was kind of opaque to the end user. So it didn't really. I didn't get a lot of enjoyment out of that, but I combined that with this idea of private military corporations from Metal Gear Solid, who develop all these crazy things, and they get contracts for governments to be militaries for hire, to be mercenaries, right? And so my idea originally was to just make it so that you are the CEO of one of these major private military corporations, and I think I'm going to stick with that. But it's not going to be like you're controlling units of guys and you're doing combat. It's going to be you are trying to be as big to become as big as possible and reach outside of your purview as a PMC. You can buy biotech firms, and maybe that might open up the option of having, um, you know, crazy, scary biotech people. That's kind of stuck in my head right now because I started playing Deus Ex, the new one, Mankind Divided, I think it is. So that's kind of what's stuck in my head right now. But you get the idea. You can obtain biotech firms, technology firms, marketing firms. If there's a, I have this storyboard in my head of like, some random dude on the internet figures out this big conspiracy that you've been creating, and he gets really close, and he gets people rallied up about this. Oh God, this company's terrible. They're doing terrible things. They're killing people, right? And so, he has this giant campaign against you online, social media, whatever, and you can hire marketing firms or acquire marketing firms and fight back against that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get this game to be. It's about thinking like you're one of these crazy powerful, but like, I don't know how to. I guess that's the best thing. But like, if you're looking in the actual idea here, you don't control anything directly. In Overlord, you control little minions that run around and you fight things. In Dwarf Fortress, you assign jobs. And in Civilization, you have to fight people, like strategically speaking. And on some level, you will be deciding who fights who. You'll be deciding, well, let's send this unit out to fight against this enemy, but you're not going to be directly controlling that action, even to the level that you do in Civ 5 or Civ 6 or whichever Civ game. But yeah, so I want to make it so that there's a stock market that's affected by things that you do, and by the things that AI do, and ideally in the long run what other players do. I want to make this multiplayer, because AI can only get so good, right, without cheating. So perform mergers, like I was saying, buy out that biotech firm and have this amazing super soldier unit. You can lobby for policy change if it's illegal to have biotech firms in one country that you're operating in. You can either go to a different country, merge with, or buy a company out in Uganda or whatever, where there are lax laws. I don't know if Uganda has lax laws or not. I just picked a random country that was in Africa. Please don't yell at me. But yeah, you can do that, or you can lobby for policy change within the country that you're working and continue to operate there. Um, and you're going to have to weigh, which of these ways is better uh, to go about. And things like hiding assets in offshore accounts and behind shell companies, things like that. The crazy, scary CEO type stuff that you see people do in all these movies and all these video games. That's what I want you to be, that guy. I haven't found anything that kind of does that to this in this way. So that's kind of the idea. Um, this is going to be a one-person show for the most part. It's going to be me writing the code, making the assets. Um, I'm going to make a GitHub for it. It's going to be public. You can submit pull requests for bugs and stuff like that. I'm probably not going to be accepting new features, just because, not because I want to control everything that's going on, but I want to make sure I have a good understanding of the entire game as I go forward. And I know that that's almost never the best way of going about things, but for now, at least while the game is in its infancy, while it's still, while it's in its alpha stages, I want to make sure that I am the one who controls everything, so I can explain it to people if they need help with it. Half of the reason of this is an educational tool. I'm not an expert game designer. I'm a damn good programmer sometimes, but that's about it. So this is more about how I work through problems that I don't know how to fix, right? And that's what I like about these three channels, especially, is they show you their process. They show you, you know, what resources they're using. They show you how they think. They talk it out with you, and that's kind of what I want to do here. So today, we're mostly just going to be making the project directories. I'll go ahead and make the GitHub repository on stream, because why not? Because I think maybe some people might want that as a reference. I don't know. There are a lot of how to use Git and GitHub tools out there these days. But the first step is to bring up our handy dandy command line. I'm using Bash on Ubuntu on Windows. Is that what it's called? Bash on Ubuntu on Windows, right? Yes. So it's the Windows subsystem for Linux. It's real Linux binaries running on Windows. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I like Bash. I like Linux, but I need to use Windows. I like Windows too. But anyway, so we're going to make a directory. Well, let's use Visual Studio to make the directory and all that stuff. Or Unity. Who knew I'd get into this kind of quandary this early, right? All right, let's go ahead and do Unity. Oh, I didn't have Unity open. This might take a second. In case you're wondering about how this whole setup is set up, I have an ultra-wide monitor, and what I've done is I've blocked off a section of that monitor over here that I'm displaying, and then on the right-hand side I've got my control room for OBS going. So yeah, as you can see, I haven't done anything with this project yet. I've got notes, and so one of the things that I want to say is when I go to search things and when I go to look, I want that to be visible. So if I'm ever, I know there's no one watching right now, if I'm ever to the point where I'm doing something but nothing's showing on the screen, please let me know. I've got chat right here on a separate computer. And please don't mind the massive cables and stuff back here. It's a temporary thing. It'll be going away pretty soon. But anyway, so let's go make a new. Well, there we go. We're going to make this on X in workspace. Select folder. Organization is me, I guess. We're going to do a 2D game. Do I need, what is this? I don't actually know. I'll I'll leave it on. Why not? Not gonna hurt anything. I haven't even allowed it through the firewall yet, guys. That's how little I've done with this project. And that's kind of what I wanted to go for. Like, I want to go from start to finish, like Handmade Hero does, like Quickly 18 does, like the Coding Train does. Like, they start from scratch and they build. They don't. And I'm going to try to stream everything that I do. I might not always be able to do that. I might not be able to stream literally everything, just because I might have this idea, while I'm out traveling for work or whatever, and have to. Can I close this? There we go. And I don't want to fiddle with my layout and stuff too much right now. Well, it's the first stream. I think I should probably get this, the way that I have seen it done. And part of me is kicking myself for not having my full screen displayed, because I'd like to have the full screen of Unity. It's really cool looking, but I highly doubt most people out there have ultra-wide monitors, so they're not gonna benefit from that in any way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna leave it to over here. This is less than 1080p actually, so I don't even know how many pixels it is, but it's almost to 1080p. It's almost there, and it's in actual size. So everything you see here is the normal size. It's not scaled or zoomed in or anything like that. And if things are too small, let me know and I'll see if I can't fix that. But yeah, everything looks good. We've got no dropped frames. The servers aren't complaining about anything, so all right, let's go. I want to make this so it's less annoying. I want the inspector down here with the console. And this might change over time, honestly, but really, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Is it project is hierarchies over here? I'm trying to do it in a way that I saw some guy, who was it? Barnacles is working on a game with someone else, and the way that guy has it set up is really cool, and I liked it a lot. And maybe I'll go rewatch that and configure this later. But for now, let's go. Let's get things working. Let's just make a game object, right? Create empty object. Let's give it a script. If I can remember how to do this stuff. Mainly, I want to start editing. I want to open up the solution in Visual Studio so that we, I can just go do that. And I think I've got Unity tools installed in Visual Studio. I hope I do. It's ready. Tools. Where's the extensions? Extensions and updates. Because that'll allow me to link up Visual Studio with Unity, so I can just build from Visual Studio and go over to Unity to look at how it's going. Online. Hold up. Unity. How do you do this? I forget. All right, so the Googling begins. is it really just... Oh, this is downloading Visual Studio itself. This isn't actually just the tools, is it? Okay, so how about this? Yes, this is live. That's why there's nothing exciting going on. Sorry, Christoph Lamb. I'm actually still getting the environment set up and things like that, so I haven't even started even the design phase. You actually just missed my whole spiel about what I was doing and why I'm doing and all that stuff. Yeah. And technically the purposes of these streams, okay, cool. What kind of work do you do? Download Visual Studio. Is this just the, so this will let me, yes, I want to let Visual Studio install tools. I think you can, you know what, this isn't the right thing. Maybe I can just modify Visual Studio. Do, 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 do. There's a way that you can go through and select new, other things. There it is. Modify. I hope this doesn't take too long. Well, if you really want to check out people making things, I talked about a couple of channels that I highly recommend following if you're into that kind of stuff. I will bring them up right now. Check them out. So Quill18 Creates is a guy who does Unity stuff. He builds little games kind of to teach people how to play or how to do Unity games. Handmade Hero is making a game and engine from scratch in C and C++. I think he does mostly C with a few features like templating and stuff like that. And then Coding Train does not make games, but he shows you how to code creatively. He shows you how to make things like neural networks and all these other fancy things, and he uses JavaScript and processing, which are, you know, not typically what people use for you know, neural networks and stuff, but really, really cool. So now this should install my Unity tools, and then I can link up Unity with Visual Studio, and everything will be good. 6 gig? What? It said 7 meg. Oh boy. That's annoying. Okay, so while it's doing its thing, I guess I'm going to start mocking up what I need to do. Okay, so this will be a bunch of parts of C#, but it's a new, different language in Unity. Do you have a repository or guide about it? I highly recommend going to Quill18 Creates. Here, let me show you exactly which thing you're looking for. He has a series on how to use Unity to do simple things like a multiplayer game tutorial, a hex-based 4X game engine, right? Very build your own spaceships, and he even starts from scratch and says, okay, you want to build a 2D brick game, do that. Um, and he does a fantastic job of making you feel like you know what you're doing after you come away from his videos. So I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, an expert in game programming. Technically speaking, I'm not even a programmer at my day job. I am a cybersecurity engineer. Yeah, definitely check him out. But yeah, like I said, I am not even technically a programmer. I'm a cybersecurity engineer, but all my schooling's in programming, and I've been programming forever. So um, realistically, I am a programmer disguised as a cybersecurity engineer. Uh, all right, so this is going to be whiteboarding, even though it's not a whiteboard. All right, let's. I'm not gonna even try to draw. But so, what are our steps? What do we need for this game? Well, we're gonna need a lot of things. We're gonna have to kind of make our own engine. I don't want to call it an engine. It's not really an engine, but we have to make our own thing for the game to run it, our own environment. Like we need to be able to add things like units and new companies and stock tickers and all this stuff, right? So we need some way of organizing all that into a game as opposed to just being a bunch of random objects in Visual Studio, right? So I think what I'm going to start with is, and this is where it's going to get kind of boring because I haven't even planned this out. Like I've just been thinking about making this game for about 5 years now, but I haven't planned anything out about how I'm actually going to make it. I've only figured out what features I want to have in it, which is not the best way to go about, making games, I think. Oh well. So, step one. I actually don't know if that's how this is supposed to work. I also mentioned earlier that okay, well, I'll go back and I'll go over the game again a little bit just to kind of, because I did do this earlier, but, since you're here, and you're the only one here, I may as well. So basically the idea is that you are going to play those evil CEOs of giant military corporations that you've seen in, like, for instance, Metal Gear Solid. There are those PMCs, private military corporations that make all the gecko things, and you in the most recent game you actually start a PMC as Snake, and you hire people, and you hire people by kidnapping them. But so this is going to be kind of like if you've played the Phantom Pain, the latest Metal Gear Solid game, then it's going to be the base building aspect of that, but it's going to be on a global level. And then, so the idea being that you don't fight yourself. You allocate units to go fight. You accept contracts from governments to go fight. You do things like manipulating the stock market to gain assets that you can use to buy other things. If you want to, I used this example earlier, but if you want to operate in a country that won't allow you to operate, you can either say, okay, well, I'm going to go to a different country and build a facility there, or I'm going to go and lobby to this government and say, hey, I want these policies changed, and I'll put you into office if you, like, I'll give you money for your campaign if you, make this possible for me. So that's kind of the short version. It's yeah, I would equate it more to Spore, but it's kind of a think if you've ever played Dwarf Fortress, if you've ever played Auction Not Included or like Overlord, it's more like that because you aren't directly interacting with anybody. You're telling your VP of research to go research stuff, not research this thing, research stuff. Like it's not your job to micromanage what gets researched. I am probably gonna make it so you can do that. You can micromanage to a degree, but realistically, that's not your end goal. Your end goal isn't to do research; it's to take over the world, and it's all about getting resources and using those resources in a way that will help you take over the world. Does that make sense? I don't know how bad the delay is right now, so I'm just going to keep over here. Um, let's make a user interface because we can kind of build off of that. The idea being that at the very least that'll give us an idea of what we need to implement, even, right? And so right now I think I'm going to make a player. And this will be in Unity. And we'll just keep track of assets and things like that. So we'll have, the players. If I don't know if we're going to do a name for the player, I don't think that. Well, we could do a name because we could use their Steam name or whatever, and then we could have leaderboards for how much wealth people have accrued or whatever. So let's just we're gonna have a name. We're gonna have assets. Now the assets might be different things. So this is money. This is owned corporations. What's wrong with my computer? It's going to be, stocks in other companies, right? You can and one of the and I don't know if I mentioned it this time, but a really interesting storyboard in my head, like a thing that can happen that I want to be able to happen. Plague Inc. Sorry, an aside. Plague Inc.'s a really good example of what I want to do, but a lot more complicated and with a lot more dials to turn, if that makes sense. Sorry. Going back to what I was just saying. What was I just saying? Oh, so a really cool storyboard that I have in my head is, let's say some hacktivist hacks your computer system and figures out, what you've been doing, how you've been controlling things. This is a giant conspiracy, man, and he gets people all riled up. He just think Edward Snowden, just think, whistleblowers, right? So there are a few things that you can do. You can, make someone go kill him, which, kind of proves his point, right? Or you can go and you can acquire a marketing firm or just pay a marketing firm to, like, these guys, bad guys? What are you talking about? They make people safe. That type of thing. So there's a bunch of different ways you'll be able to handle things, but nothing is, you don't directly handle them. You know what I mean? I think that's a really good way of, that specific storyboard is a really good way of representing kind of the whole project in a nutshell. Uh-oh, I'm dropping frames. Why am I dropping frames? It'll be fine. I'm not playing a game, so it's not like turning down the video setting. I will, fair warning, technically speaking, I am running this stream through an i3. It is an overclocked i3. It's the Intel 7350K. It's overclocked to like 5 gigahertz. It should be fine, but it's not a quad-core awesome, processor. So if there are drop frames, that's probably where it's coming from. I've got a great internet connection. Not that it applies here. I've got a fantastic graphics card, but if I do drop frames, it's because my CPU is just kind of not up to snuff. But anyway, so stocks. What else would the player have? Let's just say like gold or precious metals, because I really do want to make it so that you have control over yourself. Like, I originally wanted to make this a 3D game where you just go about and you have to go to meetings and stuff like this. where you'd play like mini games where you have to like convince people to do things using, you know. But I'm kind of that's going to be a 2.0. That's going to be a Project Overlord 2 type of thing. Um, but yeah, so I do want to make it so that you have a lot of options in where you want to store your own wealth and where you want to move things around. But but when you go about changing those pieces of uh, those sources of wealth to other sources of wealth. So if you want to go sell precious metals or Bitcoin, ooh, Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, blockchain, woo! I want it to, you have to, just like in real life, you don't just say, I'm going to go sell this gold and have a bunch of gold. Like in most video games, you just go sell things. In Skyrim, you go sell it and you get gold. In real life, that's not how it works. You typically go through a broker and you pay based off the current like rate and all this stuff. And very rich people have people that do that for them. And so if you want, you can say, well, I want to sell my gold, but also you could say, I want to go talk to my financial advisor in the game, and my financial advisor will say, okay, I'll move some money around and I'll make the money available, right? So that's kind of what I want to go for. I want to, not realism, because realism is kind of boring, and frankly, no one is actually that good at this stuff except the people who are currently doing it. So it's not going to be super realistic. But yeah, like so the black market's going to be an aspect, and I'm going to go. I'm going to take a step further, and it's going to be multiple black markets, like because different things are illegal in different countries, right? It is completely legal, say, to sell children in certain countries in the world, right? That's not a thing you can do in America or in Canada or in most of the civilized world. Well, all of the civilized world, right? But there are some places where that's not even a black market. That's just a market. And so I really want to have that scope in the game where you have to take into account where your contracts are happening, where you're buying things from. So yeah, but let's say illicit goods. And it will, and like I said, depending on where you're storing these illicit goods, they might not be illicit. Elite Dangerous has a really cool system similar to this, and part of the reason why I haven't actually made this game is because I started playing Elite Dangerous, and it has a lot of these aspects to it, and it's in space. But at this point, I'm making it because I want to make it, not because I don't think anyone's going to play it, but I want to make it. It's the type of game that I want to play. And you know what they say, make games that you want to play. Check on Visual Studio. Oh, it's almost done downloading. Cool. All right, so that's enough assets for now. Let's also talk about age, because this game's going to take place over a long time scale, right? It's not going to be, oh, I'm going to sell this gold, I'm going to have it in 5 minutes. No, if you need to sell a bunch of illegal gold, it's going to take a week. It's going to take a few days, right? So I'm going to have your character age, and maybe the end game will be your character dies or maybe you can you can. Oh, so here's an idea. This is kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but what if you can declare inheritances, right? That's a word. And you get to continue playing if you choose the right heirs who will act appropriately to your wishes. So that could be a way of, and this is probably going to be down the line. I don't think I'm going to implement age immediately. We're not going to worry about that. But that's a thing that I want to do. I want it to be, you're 500 years old. Well, that's lame. And part of that is going back to things that you can buy. What if you can buy a biotech firm that extends your life? So you can either make a bunch of money by selling these wonder drugs, or you could just use it on yourself and your soldiers and so on and so forth. That should be a possibility. Yeah. Try adding like the deep web to it. for browser design. So I have had ideas of like, and so this is where we go back to how much granular control do we want over what happens in the game, and my first instinct. Oh, excuse me. My first instinct is to say, eh, um, maybe we can hire people who are particularly adept at breaking the dark web or the deep web. Well, deep web versus dark web is a different conversation. But I assume you meant like the dark web, like Tor or you know onion services and things like that. Um, and so maybe we can hire people who can hack it or whatever. I'm not going to think too much about that detail right now, but uh, we're not going to directly be using it, or maybe we are. Maybe sometimes we have to make the deal um, over a, a dark web connection, and if we don't, we get caught, and it's game over, right? So, or it's not game over. Maybe we get caught because we made a mistake. So that's okay. That's an interesting. I'm gonna make. Okay, I like Evernote. You can make notes anywhere on the screen. Side notes. Um, what about dark web transactions? Maybe if you mistakenly make a deal over clear web, you get caught. Okay. All right, so going back over here. Okay, I think, so I like OneNote, but it seems to be slow, which is weird. Whatever. It's fine. It's working just fine for our purposes, right? All right, so your age. Age is going to be one of those would be nice. You know, it's not a thing that we're going to focus a lot of time on unless down the line I say, you know, we're out of things to do. Yeah, so maybe like a month of imprisonment, or even better, like what if you can hire some kind of cybercrime expert to pin it on somebody else, right? Um, or what if you already own a firm that does cybercrime research, cybersecurity research, and you have them plant evidence for you, or you have them, or you, so you ask them to do that, and then they can either do it because you're paying them, or they can have a conscience and go Snowden and like say, oh, look what my boss made me do. So I really want it to be basically I want it to be something that you really can't do in a text adventure, because I could make this a text adventure pretty easily and like just say, oh yeah, I made the game that I wanted to play, and it's a text adventure, but I want it to be a little bit more intelligent than that, Um, yeah, and that's kind of what tonight is. Tonight's more of a, getting the tools up and running, getting the concept hammered out, and obviously the concept's going to change over time, and we're going to have to, and this is the type of game where scope creep is going to be a very real issue. I don't have a deliverable that I have to give or an MVP or anything like that, so I can just add as many features as I like, and that's dangerous. But this is more for fun and for learning than it is for um, actually making a viable product. uh, I'm going to increase the size of this text real quick. Not text that you can see, but text that I can see in the chat because it's kind of small. Anyway, all right. So honestly, right now that's kind of all I can think of. We need to make a corporation. No, let's not call it a corporation. Let's call it an organization object. I'm going to use programming nomenclature because it's what I'm more familiar with. And we're not going to say in Unity, because Unity, like I said, it's just our presentation layer. It's not actually where most of our code's going to be going. So so this would have, let's say, it's gonna have a name, it's gonna have assets, just like you, right? Um, People can own assets, organizations can own assets, um, and your owned corporations can have their own assets, right? They're not technically yours; they're that corporation's at them. And so the big one here is you're going to start out with an owned corporation. The name of the developer, like me, my name, I'm Chris. Oh, you mean the it's Quill 18. Quill 18 creates. Here, I'll there you go. But yeah, so he's fantastic. Then there's also coding train. Uh, he's more computer sciencey. And then there's handmade hero. Game engine E. Chris. Oh yeah, Christoph Lamb, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Hi, Chris. I'm Chris. That's the second time in 2 days it's happened to me. All right. Let's go back to assets. I'm not gonna rehash the assets over here. Stock ticker, because stick ticker, stock ticker. Public or not, that'll be a Boolean. Because, well, it'll have to have a stock ticker. We'll give all companies a stock ticker. We'll just generate one, I guess. That way, if you buy them and then open their stocks, they'll have a ticker. We don't have to generate one, or we can make the user generate one. We'll figure that out later. I want to publicly traded or not. Okay. Ooh, it's almost done installing packages. Awesome. Why is it reinstalling Microsoft F# SDK? I don't need to reinstall that. I don't understand what's going on here. Whatever. That was the other thing. I was considering doing this entire series in F# instead of C#, just because I can. But I actually don't know how well that'll work with Unity. So I wasn't originally going to use Unity. I was actually going to make this like a web server game, a web game with a .NET backend, basically. But I decided that kind of raises the barrier of entry a little bit. So it's like you have to know not only how to download the game, you also have to know how to run the server and then connect to it over your browser. And it's just a little bit more. I want people to be able to just download the game and play it. I don't want them to have to jump through hoops, really. But yeah, that was one of my original ideas, was to make this entirely web based, which would be really cool. And maybe there could be another game like that I do in the future. Who knows? I highly doubt this game will ever be marketable to begin with. So I might end up making this game out enough and then saying, you know what, I'm done with it for now. I'm going to go work on something else. But we'll see. Yeah, and so like you just said, yeah, C# is better because you can design the game itself and make it more interactive. And realistically, you can do exactly the same thing in F#. It's functional, right? I'm not in the there we go, functional. And I'm not particularly great at functional programming, especially when it comes to user interaction. So C# and like Unity using C# is a lot easier for me to do. And making the game is going to be hard enough. So struggling with my tooling probably shouldn't be on my list of priorities. What else can corporations be, or what other things about them? Because organizations can also be like governments. We can have a government organization. Though, you know what? Actually, I'm just going to make governments a separate thing because there's going to be special stuff about them, but they can have organizations within them. So this is going to be owned organizations. Okay, I'm really getting annoyed by this whole OneNote being really, really slow thing. It's like locking up my mouse and everything. Ah. I just clicked here and nothing's happened. Like, what the heck is going on here? My entire computer's being kind of slow right now. Yeah, I know I said I had an i3 and it's not particularly like powerful, but it's powerful enough to do this. I don't understand what's going on. Come on. Hello, computer. There's my mouse. Okay. Okay. This is going to drive me insane if it keeps doing this. Hey, Task Manager, could you open up? That'd be great. I mean, according to OBS, it's only using 8.2% on my CPU. And I had this problem on an old laptop running Microsoft Office applications. They wouldn't run very well, but I never figured out what was going on. I thought it was, I guess, a hardware incompatibility or something, which doesn't make any sense, but so be it. But okay, so what the hell is taking up? See, we're not hitting it particularly hard. Like, we're sitting at around 10, 11% with, I mean, nothing's going up over 50, really. Okay, it goes over 50 there. It's mostly the Visual Studio installer, I guess. I mean, okay, time to upgrade, guys. I need to get a new processor. Yep. I got the processor that I have because it was overclockable. So I mentioned it earlier. It's the i3 7350K. It default boosts to 4.8 gigahertz and has it has 2 cores, but it's hyper-threaded. So I would imagine, and I've overclocked it to like 5.1 gigahertz. It's really, really fast. I don't understand why it's having trouble right now. It has no trouble in games. I've streamed games on it. It works perfectly fine. But now, because we're installing Visual Studio, and because, you know, I need to get stuff done, it's being slow. Thanks, Windows. What the? Do I have? I've never seen 2 task managers open before. That was freaky. Okay. Make government class. Anyways, like I was saying. Well, and that's the thing. I have a quad core. It's hyper-threaded quad core. So, Christoph in the chat just said nowadays you need quad cores in designing games or even multitasking. And I don't have problems with this thing normally. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just being unstable because I just installed a bunch of stuff and I haven't restarted the computer. That happens sometimes. But I have been meaning to upgrade to a 7700K just because they're so cheap these days. So when I do that, this will be better. Um, Alternatively, I could also do a capture card and put that over to my other computer, which so I have a laptop. It's a gaming laptop. It has an i7 in it, 7700 HQ. It's technically more powerful than my desktop, but my desktop has 1080 Ti in it, whereas the laptop has a 1060 in it. So, you know, it's all about trade-offs, I guess. um, okay, so government class, name of government, right? It's gonna have a special thing where, so the country that it's in. Oh, and you know what? That's gonna be for organization too, because well, what country are they based in, right? Yeah, it's reading and writing to the disk a lot, but that shouldn't affect a running program that exists entirely in memory. And I have 16 gigs of DDR4 2400 megahertz, 2600 megahertz. I don't remember which it is. So it shouldn't be an issue. Like maybe the storage, because I'm using an SSD, maybe the storage controller's taking up a lot of CPU time. I don't know. It's weird. All I know is it's acting weird. I don't like it. Okay, why is it installing Linux stuff? I didn't say to install Linux stuff. Mm. It will be nice to be able to port the game to Linux really easily by clicking a button in Unity and then in Visual Studio, but I don't need it right now. Like it's just taking time and energy. Okay, country. Organizations will also have countries. Like what country are they based out of, right? What countries they operate in. So maybe there's a country and then there's um, operating in. And so I guess that so organizations. So that will be so there's the U.S. government. Then there is like the DoD is the Department of Defense, the DOI Department of the Interior, DOE Department of Energy, so on and so forth, which all have their own sub-organizations. And part of our designing of this game will be figuring out how granular we want to control the probably fictional governments that we have in here. I'm probably not going to use real governments because I want this to be set kind of near future, alternate reality type thing. Um, so I don't want to make people think that I'm trying to predict the future, if that makes sense. Like people will complain about it. I want it to just be like simple, like this is just a fictional world. Yeah, I don't like politics. I don't like talking politics. So obviously it's going to come up. We're going to talk about politics in a general sense, just because we have to implement them. But I'm trying to avoid making statements and like having an opinion, if that makes sense. This game itself doesn't need to have an opinion, right? The player of the game might have an opinion, and that opinion might guide how they play the game. But yeah, yeah, exactly. So you just said in the chat there might be an uproar to it. It's better for you to make new characters or fake governments, and I agree. Like, there's no reason to start shitstorms you don't need to start, right? I'm not interested in being attacked by people who think that I'm like advocating for terrorists or whatever. Like, don't get me wrong, you'll be able to hire terrorists in this game. It's part of the game. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing in the game. And that's what I'm worried about. So if I make the game with real governments and like you have the option to attack the U.S. with terrorists to further your own policy goals, people are going to get pissed off about that. And I mean, fair enough. Like it's a pretty, you know, intense subject for some people. So I really want to avoid that and just make up the fake governments. There we go. So Visual Studio is working. Tools. Okay. Um, so what we're going to do So this is going to be a list of countries in which they operate. Okay, since this is going to be a list, we're going to have to do it. Let's try to stick to the conventions, right? I'm going to try to make this more code-like. So this will be of type country. This one is also going to have owned organizations, because organizations can own other organizations. Let's say, so what's the word I'm looking for? Exploited states. So like states that technically, or puppet states, I think is a better, because for instance, the U.S. has territories. They're not U.S. states. They operate basically as their own countries in some matters. Not, but I'm thinking more along the lines of the British Empire owned how many countries, and they were technically in the British Empire, but they were still different countries. And so also in government, we're gonna have type of government, right? So like monarchy, republic, whatever, right? That's going to be a sub. And I think my goal for tonight will just be get these classes like somewhat implemented, so we can kind of start futzing with them to see how they work together. Make a small game loop and see if we can't make a UI that lets me buy and sell countries, right? Or countries. So country, make country class. Now this is going to be interesting because we need the country class to. We don't need it to store a whole lot of information right now, but I'd like to store like boundaries, like where on a globe is this thing, which sounds like it'd be kind of complicated. But fortunately, I have a little bit of GIS programming experience. Geographical Information System, I think is what that stands for. So I kind of have an idea of how to. That might be a little bit beyond the scope of early in the project. We might not have a globe yet, especially given we're playing a 2D game right now. But I would like to actually have border conflicts that are going on in the background while you do. So like if you have an installation in a country in a certain location and that location gets taken over by another country, how are we going to handle that? Right? That's the level of detail that I want in this game. So we're gonna say it's gonna have a name. It's gonna have a government, right? We want it to have a government, even if that government is anarchy, right? Even if it's just it's a plot of land that is technically a country, but it's in an anarchy, a state of anarchy. I can't even talk right now. We want but we want to keep track of that. So let's also add anarchy here, right? And now that the installation is all done, no problems at all. It Trumpery. Name government. Location will be later, right? I want to. What I'll probably do is make a separate project where I like test I'm not going to talk about presidents and stuff in real life. I'm not gonna make any enemies now. How about that? I'm not gonna say who I like and who I don't like. Just putting that out there. What was I saying? So I might just do a side project where I just make a globe and work on applying GIS data to it, right? Like modeling out countries and coastlines and stuff like that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to do that sooner rather than later because it's kind of it'd be a big change in the game. We have to go from 2D to 3D, sort of. Uh, or I could just do it with a simple like flat map. I don't have to. It doesn't have to be a globe, right? We could just have a flat map. Flat Earth, yay! Um, so I don't know. I don't know. But for now, name and government should work just fine. We don't need a location right this very second. So I think that'll do us for tonight's work. You mad, bro? I am not mad. I don't get mad. There's no reason to get mad. I should probably stop drinking coffee. It's like 9 o'clock. But I want to get all this stuff done tonight. So I want to build out these classes tonight. And to do that, we need to make them in Unity so that we can get a mono behavior object over in Visual Studio, I think. So let's rename this game object. This is going to be a now I can move one node over here. Of course, now I can't see me. Oh no. Rename. Let's just make the player first, just because, right? We want to add inspector. Here we go. Add component, just a script. Can I just make a script? So now's where I have to remember how to. There we go. New script. Okay. Player. Language C#. Well, what? So they just give you C. They used to give you a separate. No, I'm not leaving soon. I just have drinking coffee. I'm gonna implement all the stuff that we've written down, and then probably call it a night. But this will probably take at least at least another hour, maybe 2. I don't know. Because I'm not really adding any logic right now. We're just doing data stuff right now. So let's create an add. All right, let's double click this. That should open it up in Visual Studio. Did it open up in Visual Studio? Reload. Where can you contact me? I've got Twitter and Instagram and Twitch over on the sidebar over there. Those are the best places to contact me. I have a dev email account. It's just boxsite@gmail.com. I rarely check it. I think it's set up to give me notifications on my phone, but I'm not actually sure. I only use it so that I can have a separate email account for my Google Play Store. But I'm probably going to start using it for more stuff, like this, for instance. But yeah, those are your best. You know what? Let's go ahead on Unity or on OBS, and I'm just going to add an email. Add text email. Maybe I'll actually start using this email address now. Yeah. All right. There you go. So if you really want to email me or whatever, you can hit me up at that email. I might get notifications on it. I'll check it here in a bit, and I'll set it up so it's notify me when I get emails. But it's really only for like my quote unquote business emails. But now that I have a real job, I don't really use it for business anymore. So yeah, but you can hit me up there. Leave me a DM on Twitter, whatever. I'm on Reddit too as Bauxite B4UX1T3 if you want to DM me there for whatever reason. Speaking of Reddit, I forgot to put up a Reddit post that I was doing this. Oh well. All right, so we now have player.cs right here. So, what does our player have to have? Oh, look, I got a message on Instagram from Christoph Lamb. It says, I hate you, go die. No, wait, what? No, I'm just kidding. It says Kappa. I don't know what that means. I honestly don't use Instagram a lot. I mainly just post random crap. But I mean, you know, I'm there and I get notifications for it. So, all right. So, first of all, right? Is that how you do it? I forget. Is it like this? Yeah. Public string name. Oh, okay. I get it now. Kappa, I get it. I'm trying to remember how you do this. There's a way to like just say I want to make is it equals set? No. Whatever. We'll just do this for now. It'll just be public for now. Public and okay. So this is a thing that I didn't think about until just now. What are assets going to be? How are we going to represent them? So we're going to need to make another class. It's going to be an assets class, right? Because yeah, it says needs to have a name. It needs to have like a value of some kind. It needs to have what else does it need to have, right? It needs to have a name, a value. Let's just go with name and value. We'll keep it simple for now. But that way we can. But see, so here's a question. Another question that we have to address, because organizations can be assets. So do we want to have, or I guess what we'll probably do is make organizations fulfill the interface for assets, or inherit from assets. This isn't Go. Yeah, that's probably my best bet. So organization. So this should implement assets, right? And I am a firm believer in not remembering everything about every language ever and just looking things up when I need to use them. So, like, if I have to look up super simple stuff, it's not because I've never used it before. It's because I use a bunch of different languages all the time. And there's no reason to memorize everything. If you know where to find it, that's a lot more important than knowing it. Because things change. So you can remember incorrectly, right? All right. So public. Let's see. This is going to be a list of assets. Assets. Okay. Now let's make a new class. New file. And there's a shortcut. I just don't remember what it is. General, we need a new Visual C# class. Open. All right. what is it? It's Control R, Control R. Okay, that's the chord. This is going to be asset. Asset's going to have a you have to pardon me blowing my nose. I've just been leaking for the past several days. All right, so assets are going to have a public string name, public string. So this is so weird. So in C# you can either type string or string, but they're both just the object string. It's really weird. Anyway, this isn't going to be a string though. This is going to be a double. Let's use the primitive double value, capital V value, right? Okay. When you make it, let's just so string name double value this dot name equals name this dot value equals value. Ta-da! We now have assets. I don't know if this is I want to place it in an asset so it would just find that certain part when it asks for it into core or code. I'm not sure what you mean by that last comment. Not exactly sure. Okay, this isn't in a namespace, so you should be able to see that. Why can't you see that? This shouldn't be in miscellaneous. This should be in Oh, you know why? I know why. Let's not save the changes to this. I know what I did wrong. You have to add in a new item. Not. I've been using VS Code for a little bit too long. Delete. I'm gonna have to change some of these things. It does not already exist on the disk. I just deleted it. Oh my gosh. Stop being a pill. There you go. Okay. Now we can have an asset, and it finds it now. That's good. So a list of assets. We want. Well, that's all we need for our player class right now. We don't need to start anything or update anything. So save that. Next, we need. Okay, I don't like the inspector down here like this. It's kind of annoying. Can I move you, please? Thank you. There we go. I like that better. That's a little bit better. All right, so. Create C# script. Next will be organization. Scary. Am I missing something here? No, not mono. Go away, monodevelop. No one loves you. Okay. There we go. All right. So this set needs a. This needs a few more things. Oh look, I even said over here we need to implement assets. And I didn't do that before I started. Okay. So, public string name. Public. Country. Home country. It's going to complain that I haven't made that yet, so it's okay. Operating in, or no, I'm sorry. Public list country operating in. And so, there we go. Eventually, we're going to have to figure out a way to have like a database of countries, I guess. We can do that in the country class, I think. That'll be a way of doing that. We'll do it in our like game controller to start out with, and we can just kind of make them as we go. But then eventually, I'm going to want to. So eventually, we need to make a way to store countries and look them up, rather than hard coding them into the game. Okay. All right. We need to do a public list organization. Owned organizations. You know what? Owned organizations is not going to be a thing because we already have assets. So, there we go. And the organizations can sit within assets, which means I'm going to have to implement assets. Yeah, I'm going to have to implement assets better so that it can, so that organizations can extend. You know what? So this doesn't need, this can, yeah. So basically, what we're doing here is an organization can also be an asset. So we have to make sure that organization is a subclass of assets. I don't think there's anything I have to do in assets to make that happen. I think you can just inherit from it. So it's going to, and so assets also automatically gives us that the value, right? So that's good. Yeah. So we can have how much a company is worth, and that'll just already be in the fact that it is an asset. So this is where it gets kind of complicated because an organization can be or is an asset, but organizations can also own assets. And so we might have to be careful later on with any kind of recursion that we do to check organizations and so on and so forth. But that shouldn't be an issue for now. And yeah. We can get rid of these because we actually don't need the mono behavior stuff right now. I think you can do multiple inheritance in time to look something up. Interfaces. Yeah. So yeah, so assets are going to be the key. Like you're going to be using assets, you're going to be allocating assets and resources and stuff like that. So it's and so what I want. So what I'm probably going to have to do is make an interfaces, or I'm going to have to make assets and an interface, and so that we can have our organizations. I'm trying to keep so Go doesn't do object-oriented programming. You can kind of mock it up using some features, but it uses interfaces, and I believe they work similarly to the way that you use them in C#. I don't use them very often in C#, because I'm a pleb. So I think I need to go make assets and interface so we can just fulfill. So we don't need to have a constructor anymore. We don't need to have, well, okay, I need to remember how to use interfaces now. So C# interface. Read the docs. Or no, so we can do. I don't know if this is best practices or not. Rather than making it just no, we'll make, because mono behavior is an interface, and we can implement something that fulfills multiple interfaces. Or we can just have all of our assets inherit from interface, but also be mono behaviors. Because what I'm really worried about is getting rid of the mono behavior functionality. We can probably not worry about that for now. I think we can not worry about it. So let's just, there's going to be a class, and then we're going to do implement asset. No, we can't do that. Oh, it's going to be a mono behavior. Can we do both? Can we do both? Let's just nix the... Is it not implements? You know, I don't actually need to do this dot over here. Is it base? Yeah, it's base. Okay. Now, for now, it doesn't really matter, right? This isn't. Oh. Okay, so for now, it's not going to do anything special. Eventually, the organization is going to do different things when it's created than what other assets are going to do. Because we're not going to, generally speaking, we're actually not going to create new assets that aren't organizations, right? Oh, someone is on YouTube saying hi. Hi, Black Scorpion 04. I don't know how long it's been since you said that. I haven't been paying attention. If anyone's confused, I'm streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. So if I respond to somebody who is not in your chat, just assume it's in the other chat. Yes, I'm live on YouTube too, Christoph. I figured I'd try it out because I've heard that you can do it through Restream. I've never done it before, so I'm assuming everything is working right. I haven't actually checked since I started, so we'll see. Okay. Anyways, like I was saying, we're going to be on a planet, right? The planet's going to have limited resources. Whenever I turn this way, by the way, it's me talking to you guys, which is a really bad way of doing things. What I should probably do is stream the video from this thing's webcam over to. No, that's a stupid idea. But so I've got to look here whenever I'm talking to you guys, and then glance over here to make sure that you're not chatting to me. For what I was just saying now. I think for the short term, I'm not going to worry about having limited resources in the world. But I really wanted to have it so that like there's a set amount of gold in the world. Do I aspire to be a game dev one day? Honestly, no. A lot of people get into programming because they want to make games and so on and so forth. And I actually did not come at programming from that route. So I don't really want to be a game developer working for some game development company. But I do like making. I want to make video games, but I don't want. It's more of a hobby to me. I don't want it to be what I do for a living, because currently I'm doing something for a living that I used to enjoy. I no longer enjoy doing it like outside of work. So I don't want to ruin game development for me. I want making games for me has been as fun as playing games in some ways. What was it? So what is it that I do? So I'm a cybersecurity engineer. Um, and if that sounds exciting, it isn't, because all the exciting stuff in cybersecurity is, frankly, that's not where the consistent money is. So what I do is I support cybersecurity appliances. I design and implement cybersecurity systems, which sounds like so much fun until you realize you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and then patching boxes every once in a while, and it's not that much fun. But um, I do want to be a programmer at my job. However, currently we're not focusing on that where I am, so I'm doing a lot more of the network security and all that stuff, trying to be debugging it, feeling, yeah. And it's not as much fun as everyone makes it seem. I'm not on a red team. I'm not actively trying to like break into systems or whatever. I'm not doing pen testing. And even that stuff isn't as fun as it sounds, because you're just running Nmap basically, and like telling them, hey, you're doing this wrong. And so I do want to get into programming as a job. I want to do like big data type stuff, fun, like interesting, non-gamery type of stuff. Um, Data analysis, something along those lines. I'm not sure yet. I say I'm not sure yet. I'm almost 29 years old, and I still haven't figured out what I'm doing with my life. So whatever. uh, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and implement. So I think for country, I was gonna say we can make an enum, but no, that's not gonna work really. Let's go ahead and make it a new thing. Let's. Okay, let's nix that. Not what I meant to do. There we go. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of filling in all, like, Black Scorpion. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but I'm going through, I'm making all of these classes that we talked about earlier, and then I'm doing them in the order that they pop up as red squiggly lines, basically. So right now I'm doing what am I doing? I was doing organization, and part of the organization is it needs a country. So I need to make a country class, and that class needs to have this doesn't need to have a namespace. Okay, so that needs to have a name, public string name. I can't type. I can't talk. I can't do anything tonight for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. Public government, which we're gonna have to make. Now, now do we need to make a government class? Yeah, we do, because it has to have organizations and puppet states and, well, so countries. All right, let's bring over the whiteboard again. Let's look at this together. It seems to me that the country is more of just the geographical area. Oh, that's another thing we could have. We could have like a biomes, like what kind of biomes are in the country, so we know what we can grow there. But the government of that country is going to be doing the actions, right? It doesn't make sense for technically the United States of America does not declare war on anybody. The United States government declares war on people. The country is separate from its government in terms of like organizational structure, if that makes sense. Um, so, and I wonder, so yeah, the government can't just be. So now we need to figure out types. How we're. I don't think types. This is going to be later. We don't really need to worry about what type of government it is right now. There's no, like, for instance, it'll be easier to change policy in a monarchy than it will be in a republic, because you have to vote on things in a republic, whereas a monarchy can just say, okay, I want it to be this way. So it would be probably more expensive to try to change policy in a republic versus in monarchy, right? But for right now, we don't really care. For right now, I think we're not going to worry about types of government. We're just going to have the government's name, what country it is. We might not need to do this, because it's kind of like going back and forth. The country is going to have a government, and then, ooh, well, no, because there can be multiple governments within a country, right? Well, multiple government. I'm thinking Israel, where we have, uh, you know, Palestine, which is, I don't think it's technically a government though. That might be a little bit too complicated for this game, which is saying something, because this game is going to be really complicated. Um, I'm going to keep it so that they reference their country, because, yeah, just so we can quickly call back to. It's not going to be a big deal, honestly. It's not like we're hurting for memory or whatever, right? Um, so yeah, I don't know what we just established, but I think I've got it established. Okay, so public government, ruling power. So here we go. Maybe we can have it so that, ooh, 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 maybe we can have it so that what you can have multiple governments within a country, but a country can only have one ruling power. That might make it a little bit too complicated. So I'm not going to bother with that right now. We might be able to go back and do that retroactively. I think that's what I'm going to do. So ruling power. And we'll change the public to private and protect and all this stuff later on, I think. For now, I'm just going to make everything public so we can just work on it, right? Government, ruling power. Really, that's kind of it. Public. Biomes. Let's just make this a string array for now. Because I think we're gonna eventually have to have classes for the biomes, or just a lookup table or something like that. Maybe just a dictionary somewhere. I don't know. That's gonna be for later. We're not gonna worry about that right now. We're gonna have it in here as a string thing so we can just work on it, whatever. And that's kind of it. Now we need to implement a government. All right, so government has to have more stuff. It's got to have a public string name. And so right now we're really just focusing on the data. And this comes from me being more of a software a programmer than I am a game developer. So this is going to be kind of boring, I think. But once we get our data in place, we can start giving our classes, actual functionality. So we can start making it so that we can acquire assets and all that stuff. And yeah. And I'm going to make a change over here. I want to I want to change this to agent. Why? Because we want, in the long run, we want to have multiplayer. But in the short term, we want people, we want government, or we want organizations to have quote unquote AI behind them, right? We want actual agents in them, or in their agents in their own right. So intelligent agents that can act on the game. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. So we want to have enemy AI to play against, and we want them to be. You're basically making a code to let the game know when to ask for that certain part of the code. Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about data structures and all that stuff right now, and we're doing a very high level. We're doing a very object oriented, because this game is not going to be all that complicated. It doesn't need to be optimized, or it's not going to be all that complicated in terms of execution. It doesn't need to be optimized to some amazing degree. Maybe down the road I'll have to consider it, but right now, meh. Let's do apply. But yeah, I want the agent to be. I want you to be playing against somebody and not just against the game, right? In the short term, we will be playing against the game. We're going to be playing against just basically random chance, just to make sure everything's functioning properly. Okay. What was I finishing? Okay. Public string name, public country. Wait, no. Main country. I don't like that. Sovereign state. The field type country is what? Make everything public. Okay. Puppet states. Public list country. I cannot type. Puppet states. So this is the list of countries that it controls. There we go. Do type of government later. So that's all this needs right now. So what? This we're missing a couple here actually. Organization, owned. No, you know what? We'll just call this public subsidiaries. It's a list of type organization. We also want a public pool is subsidiary, right? We want to know if it's the subsidiary of another organization. I'm kind of jumping around now, just implementing things that I've talked about but haven't, finished making. Public string stock ticker, so we can kind of know what it's, and then is it okay? Public bool publicly traded is publicly traded. So you should always name bools starting with is or has or things like that. Is a subsidiary. Let's put the string here. Okay. I think that's us sorted, right? Everything's been implemented the way I have it written. All right, let's just go down the list real quick. I'm gonna pull this over here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it. Okay. Let's start with player, which is we renamed to agent. Let's go to agent. We have our name. We have our list of assets. Okay. Age we're going to do later. We can go ahead and add an age in public int age. We're not going to do anything with it for right now. Right. And I just had a great idea that might get kind of complicated. So, my wife is actually in Cancun right now with her mom, which is why I have time to do this. I hope she's not watching. Hi, honey. So I was thinking what we could do is we could add like public list of agents and then family, right? So we could have like you could get married, you could have children, and that kind of goes back to the idea of having like inheritances and stuff like that. But you know what? I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think we're going to do the whole. I'm kind of thinking I might take out age entirely because I'm going to leave it in for now. I'll even leave list agent of family in there for now. Will we be doing age stuff? And so what we could do in the world of the story, maybe we represent an estate. So we don't have to worry about the whole inheritance thing. We operate as an agent, i.e., like, you know, kind of like an, I don't know. This shouldn't be called step one anymore. Maybe we just won't worry about that right now, and we'll just let time go on, and we'll figure out how to deal with time later. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, so we've got name, assets, age, and maybe a family. And let's get rid of the family. Let's keep the documentation the same, right? Next was organizations. Okay, this one's kind of big. So we've got name. We don't have name. Oh, wait. Yes, we do have name. It is in assets because government organizations are assets. All right, so we have name, we have country, wherever our home country. We have operating in. We have assets. We have a stock ticker. We have subsidiaries, which was organizations, which was owned organizations. We have a stock ticker. We have is a subsidiary. So if it's owned by something else, family needs meh. All right. Have fun, Christoph. I hope to see you next time, maybe. I don't have a schedule right now. I don't think there's going to be a schedule. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll try to tweet out, a few minutes before I start. I'm going to try and do it, like, at least a couple times a week. I'd like to do that. It might have to be on the weekends. I don't know. But, yeah, so I'll see you later, Christoph. Have fun with your family needs. Or not if it's a bad thing. All right, sounds good. See you later. All right, so what was I talking about? Is a subsidiary and is publicly traded. Okay. So we've got that down pat. Next, we had government. And government, we only need a few things. Name, sovereign state. So, oh, We need public list organization departments, right? So this will be like Department of Interior, Department of energy, whatever. The Ministry of Magic, department. Puppet states, and we're not going to do type of monarchy right now because I don't know how, or type of government right now because I don't know how I'm going to handle that. And we've got country. Public string name, government, which is the ruling power, and biomes, which is we're not going to worry about right this very second. So I've got all the things I wanted to get implemented tonight implemented. It's 10:13 p.m. I might just call it a night now that I've got things. I wanted to have something to run tonight, though. You know what I'll do? I'm going to make... I don't know. We need like a game controller class. There we go. So I'll just... C# script, game controller. This is our like main game loop, basically, right? So we're gonna... will this open it up in Visual Studio? No, don't open up Mono Develop. Oh my gosh. I told it not to download Mono Develop. Damn it. All right, so our game controller. Now this is going to have... Oh, I haven't done any... Shoot. I haven't actually built like constructors for these things yet, so there are no constructors. We'll just do this for now. All right. Agent. Do I need a constructor for a mono behavior? Because I'm just going to name them in the editor, I think, right? I'm starting to think that maybe I don't need Unity at all. It's just going to be a presentation layer anyway. Like, I can use anything for a presentation layer. No, I want to use Unity because it adds a lot of... I don't know. I'm not sure. Because if I don't use Unity, I don't know what I'm going to use for my presentation layer. We're just going to use this for now. So then I just need to do agent or public agent string name. That was weird. We're gonna let's start at like we'll start at age like 18. We'll just assume that they like inherited this thing or something. Now, assets. A bank account could be a type of asset. I want to start putting stuff on the screen, so I want to have a bank account. I don't like how this looks kind of unintuitive, but I think it'll be good for now. So we can pass in a list. We can also just pass in none, null. I think it's null. Is it null? Yeah, it's null in C#. We could do null checks. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Everyone complains about null checks and how they cause problems and blah blah. Go shouldn't have nil because you shouldn't ever have that. Whatever. I mean, it lets you do things that are fun. So whatever. You have okay. All right. So by default, I guess the player is going to own a business. We're going to have this player own a business and have some money that they can invest into the business if they want to. So also here we're going to have list assets. We're also going to have country home, string stock, the stock ticker. We're going to pass it. We're going to say organization parent is equal to null, and then agent owner is equal to null as defaults. But if parent does not equal null, so if it has a parent, is subsidiary is going to equal true. You know, agent owner, that doesn't actually matter. Okay, it has to be owned by someone. Either an agent. I really don't want to just have a dangling null, though. I don't want to have it say, like, this thing agent is null if it's not owned by a person. Because this is where I have to figure out, like, if I want to have agents. I do want to have agents be doing things for everything, I think. This is a hell of a constructor, by the way. I'm not sure if I like having the constructor that big. We'll keep going like this. We'll figure it. I'm gonna just have an owner. Public agent owner. else if because if it has a parent, it shouldn't have an owner. Okay? So if it has a parent, it's going to be a subsidiary. If it doesn't have a parent, so if parent is equal to null, we go to our else if owner does not equal null. So if it has an owner, we'll set agent, or we'll set owner equal to owner. I don't know if I like that. Let's document. So organizations have to be owned by something. Oh, shoot. But then how do we deal with the government owning it? Because it could be a government organization like the DOE. And they can have their own Governments can be agents. Let's just make it so that the governments can be agents. So government is going to implement agents. We'll implement this here in a second. So the government can be an agent, is an agent. They're just kind of a different agent. They're going to be, I guess, slower to think or something like that. Okay, let's document this stuff. Okay. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I do not hablo a lot of Espanol. Lameth Cruz. Sorry. Un poquito, but not a lot. No. See, now we're running into a problem of how do we keep track of if this is because we have owner, which is an agent. We made government an agent, but organization can also be. So can organization also be an agent? I really don't like doing that. It's kind of bad, but what? It's because they're not interfaces. We can implement multiple interfaces, but we cannot inherit from multiple classes. I'll try not to talk too fast. I know I can get a little bit fast sometimes, so if I'm going too quickly, let me know, all right? So then I think we're going to have to make agent an interface, an iAgent. I don't know how we're going to do this. I've made it too complicated already. Yep, everyone go home. um, See, this is the part that I figured I wasn't gonna have a problem with because this is just basic programming stuff. This is just C sharp, but it's kind of tricky because it's I'm gonna have to implement. I don't think implements is the right. I don't think that works in C sharp. Okay, let's go back to what we were looking at before. See, the thing is, I just need a way that isn't just having two null fields. Hmm. Oh, look, there's John Skeet. I wonder if any of these answers are by John Skeet, because he is amazing. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make agent I can't talk an interface. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Okay. We might need to rename this to player. And then we'll make a new add new item. I wonder if it has like interface somewhere. Yeah, right there. Okay. Interface iAgent. So this really just needs to be able to control organizations, to own assets, really. We don't want the namespace, go away. Yeah, we don't. It's going to be a game eventually. It's I kind of went over it earlier this session, but basically it's going to be a little game where It's going to be a pretty big game where you play the CEO of a large evil company. I'm just going to say it. So this is specifically your job is to take over the world by hiring black ops mercenaries, by manipulating the stock market, by performing hostile takeovers. That's kind of what this game's going to be. If you want a kind of an example, just think of Dwarf Fortress meets Civilization. I think that's the best way of describing it. But yeah, that's the game. And right now, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to um, reconcile ownership of assets, basically, which sounds so boring, but it should be fun when you actually play the game. So an interface, what do I need to do in the interface? C# interfaces. Oh, I already had it open, actually. Here we go. So interfaces just have to be, they just have to have some kind of behavior. But we don't, okay, so, okay. So how about the interface for agent will be that they can buy and sell assets. I think that's how we're going to have to do it. So private buy asset, yeah. Private void buy asset. Okay. Okay. Void sell asset. So they just have to have some way of buying and selling assets. That's it. Okay, yeah. So government is a player and is an I agent. Well, it's inheriting from player, so we actually don't need to give it. So we just need to make player I agent. Okay. Organization will also be I agent, but assets will not be. Okay. Okay, so there's that. There's that. The government will get that from player. You know what? I wanted the government to you can't see the code well. Is it too small? I can zoom it in. Is that better? I wanted the government to be a player because that way it can buy and sell and own stuff. But we don't need that anymore. It just needs to be an I agent. Okay, and then we need to okay, so under organizations, it's fuzzy. That might be on your end because in my preview window, I am seeing it looks perfectly sharp. So I think that's on your end. But having it zoomed in should help with that, I hope. Yeah? So yeah. All right, so okay. Okay, okay. Here we go. So now we can get rid of this logic. We don't need to check this anymore. We can just look for an I agent. So get rid of this. I agent owner. Haha! Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, we should just do so yeah, we can get rid of this stuff. Because it will always have an owner, right? It always has to be owned by some kind of I agent that bought it. It purchased it using buy asset, right? You know, we don't actually need a sell asset at all, because if you're buying an asset, the asset it'll just trigger a we can worry about that later. Let's not worry about that right now. Owner equals owner. Name equals name. Value equals value. Asset. There we go. Oh, we don't actually need this one because we were already doing that. Name is right there. Should be going right there. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna we're gonna nix this sell asset because we don't care, right? We don't care. We can do that later. We can have the we can have them do that themselves. We don't. When we buy from someone, they're notified that we're buying from them. How is calling this? So that is equals. It's an equal sign. Basically, in program, I don't know if you're a big programmer at all. But in C#, at least, the equal sign means we're going to set this variable name equal to this thing over here. And this is where it gets a little more complicated. So I'm going to just kind of say that if you don't know how to program, I highly recommend going and finding some tutorials for that. But I hope that that helps you, or I hope that answers your question. All right, so everything is written and everything's all nice. And let's just save all. So now we need to bring up our game controller and start. Let's make some things, right? We want a player. We want a. Let's make a country. Or a list of countries. Right? Let's make a. Let me see. Okay, so government. Let's make a couple of like corporations. So list of organization companies. All right, so let's just say player equals me. No. Let's make. Well, let's give us an asset. Let's give us. Organization. My. All right, you know what we can do. We can shoot in here. New organization. We have to give it a name. Me Corp. We have to give it a value. Let's just say it's worth $10 million. It won't have any assets. It's going to have a home country. We make a country first. So this is where I have to go through and like actually make stuff, huh? We need government, U.S. Gov. I'm just using real countries right now just because it's easier. So I don't have to make things up off the top of my head, right? Okay. Okay. So this home country is going to be USA. It has to have stock ticker of Miko. Okay, what's it complaining about right now? Oh, let's do this. Okay, let's just make it up here. There we go. All right, now let's go ahead and make Miko. Okay. So we just make a new list for these things. We don't actually have to have anything in them. All right, so but we're not doing anything right now. We're just, all we've done is make it so that we can implement these things. So now there is a player, there are countries, there are governments. So if we do countries.add USA, that's now part of the countries thing. Companies add Miko. So there we go. We've gotten the data written. There's no functionality yet, but at least the data is there. And I think that's going to have to be it for the night. This is just kind of me proving to myself that I wired everything up right or correctly. We can make new organizations, pass them in a bunch of stuff. We can do system.console. What is it in? Console. No, what is it in? Oh, that's why. I cannot, for the life of me, remember how to... Oh, there it was. There we go. Let's just for each asset in player.assets, console.write asset.name. Let's just see if it's working, right? Let's run it. Let's actually run the game. So we're going to be looking down here. We're going to put the game controller into the game underneath main camera, or no, here we go. I don't actually want to, well, that's fine. That's fine. Let's just run the game and see if we get that working. Uh-oh. Okay, so what's going on here? Player 12, game controller, damn it. Game controller 15. So we can't just make a new player. Okay, you're not going to be a mono behavior anymore. Just going to be an iAgent for now. We just want to make sure things are working, you know? So stop it. Stop it. Okay. Let's try again. Run it. So, you know, I'm thinking I might not want to use Unity for my presentation layer. It's going to add a lot of complexity that I don't need for this game. I think I'll be better off using a different thing. I'm not sure what yet. I honestly could just do what I was going to do and do this as like an ASP.NET server. Maybe? I don't know. I think I'm going to nix Unity as the... Yeah. We're not going to use Unity because like the more I am dealing with like the mono behaviors and everything else, the more I realize that it's just going to get in the way of me actually doing the data flow the way I want to do it. So I've just got to figure out what I could use instead. I could just go straight up OpenGL and just use DirectX, or not DirectX. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to go and just make a game that runs in like OpenGL or DirectX or something like that. That shouldn't be too difficult because we don't really need a game engine for it. We don't need any of the stuff that Unity gives us. I don't need physics. I don't need a UI layer because the entire game is going to be a UI layer. Like it doesn't really matter. But what worries me is not what bothers me is I know that there are games like mine that use Unity, and I wonder how they do it. This is where my lack of Unity experience comes into play. Yeah, I'm gonna have to not use Unity, I think. So let's just do a quick. We're kind of done for the night because we did all the data stuff that I need in order to get the game started, I guess. So let's do this. Let's go to github.com. Let's search for awesome.net. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, is this it? Yeah, okay. So let's go to game. There's mono game. Oh, there's mono game. There's that. OpenGL in .NET. Let's just do it in C#. OpenTK. That was one of the ones that was listed over here. Looks like it went kaput. It's on GitHub now. $8 months, 2 days. Okay, so this is still actively maintained. It's got a build status of not working. They have a NuGet package. Okay. Okay, so I think that's what I'm going to do or the next time I do this. We're not going to be using Unity. We're going to use OpenTK library for presentation layer. And it should be a little bit easier to do because we are doing it in 2D. So I don't think it'll be too complicated to get this working well. That gives us the added benefit of we get to control the entire game from the ground up. We don't have to worry. There's not going to be a made with Unity logo at the beginning. It's just going to be. It might not look as polished. I don't know. I have never used OpenTK, so I'm kind of worried. But it looks like it just goes to OpenGL, and I've done a little bit of OpenGL stuff, so okay. I think that about fixes us for the night. So I'm gonna go ahead and I don't think any of these things are using mono behavior anymore, so I'll just pull out the Unity engine stuff. We're not going to be using that anymore, and then I'll just move these over into its own. Don't care about mono behavior. We don't want the start. Don't really need all this stuff. There we go. Okay. So there we go. Now it's just a normal little C# program that we can just, well, we're gonna have to move it over into a new project. I'm really glad I didn't make the GitHub tonight because I would have hated to have to remake everything and pull out the stuff that we're not using anymore. So I'll make the Git repo, I think, next time. But let's go ahead and pull these out into their own thing. We're going to do a new project. We're just going to do a C# blank app. Not Universal Windows, no. We just want a console app with .NET Framework. So we're going to do everything else. Oops. I got to name it something. Project Overlord. And maybe rather than doing graphics and stuff like that, maybe I just make this like a CLI game. That'd be kind of cool. With ASCII art and all that good stuff. I don't know. I'm sure there's probably a nifty there's probably plenty of nifty little libraries for making text-based games in C#. It's been around for a long, long time. So yeah, I have a feeling that might be a way to go. But see, I don't want to make this a game that you play on the command line and you just... Hold up, let's just exit out, save all that. Then we can go in and we can go to assets and just, let's just copy assets. Go here, and then delete this. And then Visual Studio. There we go. Don't need this. We can just get rid of this. We don't need it. We got our game controller right here. I gotta remember how to make a main loop in freaking C#. Static void main. Okay, I was right. Yeah. And it's building. It's building. Uh-oh. Close program. Okay, Avast, I need you to stop that. Go away. Okay. USA is right there. It's not null. It will never be null. What? Okay, what is it saying here? It's saying countries was not null. Oh, I did never. Okay, countries. I did not make countries. That's what it's complaining about. Duh. Now it should work just fine. Okay, I gotta tell Avast not to scan this crap. Okay. So you know what we need to do? When want a player you don't need this crap anymore. So whenever you make a new asset, we need we have to have some way of adding the asset. So when it goes to owner, it needs to go to owner dot add asset this. Okay. So what it needs to do is it needs to assets dot add asset. So now there will actually be an asset there. So now if you run it, oh, government. Oh, was it? I didn't do government. Okay, so for that one, we also need to do going to add this to its organizations because it can only own organizations. It's going to coerce it to be an organization. There we go. And then we also need to do this in organization. I should be able to do it too. There we go. So now when we run it, am I missing now? 14. There is no argument that corresponds to the required formal parameter owner of asset.asset. Right, because we didn't add. Here we go. There we go. Go away, Avast. Jesus. All right, so we own Me Corp. Awesome. I have some functionality going, so now I think it's time for bed. It's after 11. Like I was saying earlier, I do not currently have a schedule for this. It'll just kind of be whenever I decide to do it. On the to-do list, let's add a page. Let's rename this to intro. To do. Figure out presentation layer. Got to figure out the presentation layer. We got to figure out. Well, that's the big thing right now, because I think most of our plans will still work going forward. We just got to figure out how we're going to present it now, because the logic is already there. And I really wanted to make this like modern feeling. So like you go through and it's like pretty menus with like holographic effects and stuff like that. I don't know how well it's going to work if I'm not going to be using Unity, because Unity makes that kind of stuff relatively straightforward. So I don't know. I'll figure it out next time. So that said, going forward, if anyone's watching this, hit me up in the comments via Twitter or the email I have up there. Let me know if you have any ideas. If you think, oh, well, I've used this presentation layer. I've used this library for whatever reason with C# and it worked great for me. Let me know. Just tell me. That's basically all I have. I have trouble ending live streams. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how people do it. I don't pay attention. So I'm just going to say bye. Have a good night. Insert catchphrase here.